Yep.
Just a brief one, the fire department requested that they buy the last piece of equipment, $725 to complete the knock spots installation. This is a piece of equipment that's to be placed, I believe, in hook and ladder. It will contain a key for knock spots, which would be installed on commercial buildings and multifamily dwellings of more than 4 units. Keys for the residences and the commercial dwellings go in the knock spots. The knock spots that's in the hook and ladder is released by a radio signal from police headquarters, and there's a number of security items put in. This is knock spots only put in about 4 years ago. So they want to complete that $725 piece of equipment within that.
Terrific. George, can I just ask you a quick question on that? That's strictly for commercial properties and multifamily dwellings of more than 4 families?
More than 4 units.
Are we asking residents in town to have an alarm system on their property, single-family home, to divulge any information or keys or codes?
No. Strictly, the way the ordinance was written about 4 years ago, it's only commercial, structures, stores, office buildings, etc., and multifamily dwellings of more than 4 units.
Approached by a resident in town today who owns a single-family home, and supposedly he was told he has to give his information, so I just want to get clarification. Thank you.
Council?
Yeah, the police committee has a scheduled meeting with the FOP for the 30th. I personally have filed an unfair labor practice against the union today for their interfering with the negotiations by the borough. They'll be notified of it in the appropriate time. So, council people, if there's any question, I've done it individually. All right. That's my report.
All right. I will report that I think Tuesday we're opening for Wednesday the bids for the Bogota Park project, which is terrific. And in about a month we'll go out to bid on the jogging track in Olsen Park. So those are some good things. I have no losses to say. The last issue before we go into closed session is the introduction of the bond ordinance that we discussed at the last work session. This bond ordinance is primarily reappropriation funds through grants, including the bridge funding, the Bogota Park, the Main Street Phase 4, which will do Palisades Avenue, and the funds that we acquired last year for renovations to the police department. In addition to that, there's funding in this for the acquisition of the new street sweeper, above what we hope is the amount. The bid price will come in under $130,000, and funding for street paving that could hopefully fund street paving programs for the next 2 or 3 years. So we don't have to do another bond ordinance every time you want to pave a street. You'll have your budget in place for 04, 05, even 06, and just pick the streets you feel necessary to pave. That's about it. This is for introduction. Public hearing is when?
April 15th.
Public hearing is April 15th. The motion to introduce the...
No move.
Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
No opposed, no roll call. At this point, folks, we're going to go into closed session. Would anyone care to comment on any of the items in the open session at this point? If there's no comment, folks, we're going to go into a closed session. When we come out, we may or may not be taking action on a number of issues involving litigation and personnel. It may be a few minutes, and you're obviously welcome to stay. So, if I have a motion to go into closed session?
I'll offer.
Second. All in favor? I think it's appropriate that we leave the room rather than asking all these folks to leave, or should anybody object? We can go to the conference room.
It would have been so good.
swear to God, it looks like a zone hit. Get out of my way.
What is the village walk?
What happened to Yes.
I thought that was when you said, oh, handbrake, and then she That's not me, I shut mine off.
That's the mayor.
Yes. Yes.
Motion to go back to public session.
Hang on. No, stay there. Hello? No, stay there. Dear Fran, I have Pat Kearns on the phone. He wants to be part of the meeting. All right, we'll call this meeting to order, back to order, okay?
According by law, telephone votes are not allowed, and I won't allow it to happen tonight.
You know, it's always been done, it's been a...
I found out recently it's against the law of the mayor and county, and it is not allowed by law, and I won't allow the votes.
Disgraceful.
When does that vote go into effect, approximately?
I don't know, all I heard about it was this.
We have a resolution, Mr. Martini, for the termination of dispatcher Christopher Page. Motion to adopt the resolution.
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
So adopted. Last night. All right. Our vote is yes. Last item of business.
Excuse me, that one, that will be resolution number 7448.
Okay. The last unpleasant item of business, unfortunately, folks, I'll wait for him to close. Tell me when you're ready. Okay? All right, unfortunately, folks, it appears that the police contract negotiations have continued to disintegrate with allegations on both sides, which are very uncomfortable, of anything from harassment and lawsuits, which I'll tell you honestly, there's no need for this from either side. The police department, the FOP has filed for arbitration, which is a costly endeavor for both the municipality and the FOP. I feel it would be in the best interest of this community to establish a interim arbitration avoidance task force, to attempt to reopen a negotiation before we go to arbitration. Save the taxpayers money and perhaps create a better relationship. This happens, it's not uncommon, so I believe in my capacity as the mayor, I have the authority to set up such a negotiating committee, of course contingent on the FOP wishing to negotiate. They have filed for arbitration, and that could still continue on that path. So I'm sure there's going to be council objection, but I am going to set up a committee of myself, Mr. Shalhoub, and Councilwoman Melissa Schnipp. I'm going to reach out to the FOP and attempt to bypass this arbitration hearing.
I'm on calling legal counsel and ask legal counsel if the mayor has the right to do that under the laws. Counsel?
May I address that question?
Yes, sir. Please.
The council adopted bylaws, the reorganization meeting, which states in Article 5, Section 1, and I quote, "The mayor shall appoint all standing committees except where otherwise provided by law," end quote. In the past, I've given a written opinion to this mayor and council, back in 1992, actually, was the first time, that under the statutes that govern the borough form of government, the council is empowered to authorize itself, to organize itself into committees. And the mayor is authorized to appoint subordinate officers, that's the wording of the statute. Those sections of the statute, in my opinion, require that the council organize itself into committees, and the mayor would vote, as he usually does, only in the case of a tie. Now, that opinion, somewhat controversial, and resulted in litigation in another municipality in which I represented the plaintiffs. The case was called Kaplan v. resulting in a decision by Judge Doyne, Peter Doyne of the Law Division, essentially agreeing with the interpretation I just gave you, that in that case, Norwood had an ordinance that said the mayor appoints the council committees. The judge found that to be contrary to statute and invalidated. Said, based upon those two statutory provisions, that case was never appealed, was never reported, and it's basically just one judge's opinion, so it's not binding on anyone. But I've been accused of a lot of things, but I'm always consistent.
Okay, so Mr. Attorney, you're saying that under your opinion is I don't appoint the committees?
What I'm saying is
Which means that all standing committees appointed this year are null and void, and every committee needs to be reappointed under your opinion that you just read.
my opinion is what it is, yes.
So the council approved, the committee has to recommend and never without ballot and stand.
All right, so here's the issue, let's get it over with. I've appointed a new committee to attempt to avoid arbitration and negotiate the police contract. What action would you like to take?
Committee stand as is.
Okay? So I'm not sure what that means.
The negotiation committee in particular will remain as it is in present.
Okay?
Are we taking a vote on this?
I'm not sure what the resolution or motion is, so I can't.
Before we, look, I appreciate you and the trust and faith in you wanting to serve on this arbitration avoidance committee. I want to say this because in certain situations, I don't think I can really serve on this committee.
Okay?
And I will discuss it in a later closed session because it has to do with something, with a situation that currently exists.
Fine. And no further explanation, George. Let's move the issue along. So we'll set up a different committee. All right, the issue at hand is, are we going to set up a new committee or not to negotiate with the police? Can I have a motion to oppose or support? There's a motion in support of a new committee from Councilman Scalzo. Is there a second on the motion? Can you explain to Pat that there's a motion to set up a committee to avoid arbitration?
And I'm going to challenge the vote if she votes.
Are you listening?
Okay. There's a committee set up to what?
God.
There's a motion from Councilman Scalzo to set up a committee to attempt to avoid arbitration to negotiate with the FLP. All right? I need a second on the motion. Is there a second? Is it? All right, we have a second from Councilwoman Pat Kearns. Fran, please call the roll.
Council members Benedetti,
No.
Kearns,
Excuse me, there's discussion before the vote.
Okay, discussion on the vote?
there's a discussion on the vote.
For the record, Ms. Kearns is not here, was not here for the discussion that was held in closed session. The opinion of the council, in fact, is that the mayor does not have standing to appoint the committees. And I will, in fact, litigate that matter if this council chooses to affirm his suggested motion. The mayor continues to act beyond the scope of his authority, and in fact, I will be challenging that in terms of how he conducts himself and how he manages this municipality and has for the last 8 years.
Mr. Attorney, are you aware of the law that I closed before that corresponding votes are not allowed at council meetings?
The answer is no, I'm not aware of that.
May I ask you to research that, please?
Certainly. I can only say that the practice here under administrations, both Democratic and Republican, in the 10 years that I've either been attorney or not attorney, has been to allow telephonic voting. And there is a reference in the Open Public Meetings Law to telephonic presence. And that's what we're relying on.
If it's legal, I have no objection to it, and I will withdraw my legal
I will
objection.
check.
Well, I think there's a matter of the form of it. I don't think the law intended that it be on a cell phone, that nobody in fact can confirm or dispute as to to what is changed, what the extent of
You
her
investigate
understanding is, whether she understands, all of the particulars being presented by the
John,
side, okay?
what's wrong with
She
majority?
has
They
inadequate
have a majority,
information
why do they need
to
to
cast a vote either way.
Call for a vote, Fran, please. Call for a vote, yes or no?
To avoid,
To set up
to avoid arbitration.
Yes. Fran?
Now, I'll continue the vote.
Yes, please.
Councilmember Starks Gelder,
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
Yes or no, or yes? To set up the committee, is a yes or no vote?
To change the committee?
Yes, yes.
Martin,
No.
Shalhoub,
No.
Schmidt, abstain.
So the noes win. There will be no new committee, folks, I'm very sorry. Motion to adjourn? Well, do we open for the public?
Yeah, what?
Yeah. Tell Pat, thank you for her courage.
I'll offer that also, open to the public.
I'll second that.
Yep. Anyone care to comment on any of tonight's actions?
Mr. Brennan.
Mr. Brennan, yes, sir.
Recognition.
William Brennan, 79 Woods Road, Little Falls, New Jersey. Over the past 8 months, the police commissioner, who just said you've exceeded your authority, has been exceeding his authority under the borough ordinance. Now, the last time we were here, I made an affirmative statement that the ordinance that establishes a police committee indicates that the police committee shall serve as a liaison between the governing body and the police department. Now,
Point of order,
Oh,
Mr. Brennan.
I've been recognized, and as point of order, you're out of order, sir. I have the floor, you don't run the meeting.
Yes, sir. By the way, we have a 2 or 3 minute limit, but I understand. Go ahead.
Okay.
What an amazing-
Over the past 8 months or so, Mr. Zampetti has taken it upon himself to interfere with the day-to-day operations of the police department, to issue directives to the chief of police, to set policy without having those policies ratified by the governing body, and has otherwise done exactly what he's accused you of, when it appears that you're following the same procedures that have been followed all along, and he's now taken it upon himself to institute new procedures without the benefit of public input. Now, New Jersey statutes annotated 40A 14-118 say that when you have a chief of police, the chief of police shall be the head of the police department and shall be responsible for the day-to-day operations thereof. The day-to-day operations of the police department are being interfered with, and I think it's appropriate that, since we're asking Mr. Feedy for and all manner of legal opinion, that we get a clarification of exactly what the borough ordinance calls for and exactly how that fits into the state statute as it pertains to the Bogota, New Jersey Police Department. Thank you.
He's gonna have no clue.
Does anyone else care to comment tonight's proceedings?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. Dan Crean, Bogota Police Department. First, could Mr. Feedy answer Mr. Brennan's question? Is that possible?
I don't know if it's...
So, Mr. Feedy, could you answer that?
Excuse me, I think it was public comment section that we opened up, not public questions.
I don't know if he can answer his union position yet.
Last meeting,
Well,
he
I've seen
commented
been
on
there.
it too.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm not prepared to answer that question right now. I will take it under advisement.
It might require some research, I think. I don't know.
I usually like to have the document in front of me before I give an opinion. I would like to review it.
The
If the council
40A,
wishes me to-
40A statute?
If the
Is that
council
what you're
wishes me
referring to?
You don't wish me to review it?
Okay, I have several questions.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Last time I was here, I addressed the council regarding I would assume the council's decision to send me to a doctor regarding recent surgery that I had. And I wasn't able to get an answer there because you told me that it was wasn't the forum. And he said that this would be the forum to get my answer. So I would just like to know how it came about, where you discussed me, obviously, in private as council members, to send me to a doctor. I was never notified that you were discussing anything on my behalf. And second, I'd like to know who made that appointment and why.
I'll have to refer that to Councilman Zampetti. I can't answer your question.
Okay. Mr. Zampetti, you care to answer?
No, I don't.
So how do I get an answer out of the
I
council?
believe, Dan, that it's normal operating procedure on extended medical leave to get a second opinion. It's not uncommon. I think your question is why a GP instead of an orthopedic?
That was correct.
And tonight, I did suggest to the chief that he suggests bypassing a GP and going to an orthopedic,
Okay.
which he's going to look at doing.
So should I just disregard the last order that I had to attend this GP?
I think you should talk to the chief, because it doesn't make any sense. We thought to go to a GP who's going to send you to an orthopedic. I mean, that makes no sense, right?
Right. Okay, and one other issue, and again, I don't mean to beat a dead horse, and that's not what it's about.
It's been well beaten, so we'll
Okay, then let's continue to beat
beating
it.
it.
Where do we stand? I addressed the council 2 council meetings ago about what I considered the illegal purchase of the GPS system, the illegal installation of it, the circumventing of the proper paperwork, and the proper voting to get it done. I have proof, I have evidence, I can show you all. I addressed it to you, I thought as thorough could be.
I'll gladly respond to
Well,
that.
I'm not done with my question, sir.
Excuse me.
My
You got about
question
10
to you,
seconds, Dan.
I'm sorry?
You got about 10 seconds.
Finish.
3 minutes.
Well, you're taking the 10 seconds, so finish up.
My question to you is, what's the disciplinary action to council people for overstepping their boundaries? And no one ever got back to me. I'd just like an answer. What you do as a mayor to control the people that are spending money illegally?
It's a good question because it's a position I prefer not to be put in. There is no procedure in place for such an issue should it take place that I'm aware of. So that's the best I can answer it.
But you are aware of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
You're aware that it was purchased improperly. You're aware of many different factors, right down to the requisition, to the purchase order being handed to the borough prior to the installation. We're talking a discrepancy of $29.53 to a requisition that was printed out by someone's handwriting and signed by you 2 gentlemen for $24.50.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's a discrepancy there, and I would just like to know how that. Maybe Mr. Feedy could answer that for me.
You'd like to put me on the hot seat?
Sure, no, you just seem like you're the most knowledgeable. So
Investigation?
It is?
I'm not aware of any investigation, and I would, again, I would prefer not to comment on it because I have not reviewed the material that you're referring to.
okay, what's the time frame we do? Because I addressed this, as I said, 2 council meetings
2
ago.
months ago.
And I thought that that's what you were going to do. You were going to take it under advisement. But nothing was done. How do we get answers?
I don't know. I'm stuck. In all honesty, I don't know.
Well, we have to become unstuck here.
Well,
For the good of the residents of...
it's in your hands. You can, I don't know. I don't have an answer. The council obviously knows exactly what it's doing and it's very decisive tonight at opting not to negotiate with the union. I think they should use their abilities and skills that they've demonstrated tonight in handling this police negotiation and give you the answers you want.
Any skills?
My hands were just tied in attempting to bypass arbitration and go to negotiations in a good faith effort with the negotiating committee, the FOP. This council took that ability away from me. I suggest the 5 of them step up to the plate and take responsibility for what's taking place and fix it. That's my solution.
Thank you, Mayor.
Motion to go out.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
No, we're not going to close to the public. We're going to try to muffle them. We're not going to close. We'll stay open all night. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor, at the last meeting, after you had left, Mr. Zampetti had stated, I believe it was to Mr. Creange, that any officer that has been injured to his extent has been sent to another doctor. There was an officer, it was either in June or August, who had the same exact surgery as Mr. Creange did and was never asked to go to a follow-up doctor.
Who's that? I'm not aware of that.
Robert Petersky, same surgery, same doctor.
I didn't realize it was that long, to tell you the truth. I can't address that, you'll have to ask Mr. Zampetti.
Sure, Mr. Zampetti, you told Mr. Cringe every officer was advised to go, you don't know, whatever.
I was unaware of it, and I wasn't...
You were unaware of it. Then how'd you find out about Danny?
You were the police commissioner at the time.
You should know what your officers are doing.
This is public comment, I mean, I do have to keep it under control.
I'm very ashamed of this council. I'm proud as hell of my police department. I'm ashamed of this council. It's a shame, it really is. It's pitiful. I'm sorry. I appreciate you, Mr. Mayor, trying to do something right, but everybody else, mostly everybody else, it's unbelievable. Nice smirk, Mr. Zampetti.
Can I just make one more statement too? Just so the council's aware, since this is all taped and it's on record, there has been a pattern of harassment that